gentlemen, friends, Liberians, citizens of the world, members of the diplomatic community, ladies and gentlemen. Today I want to deliver a special message to all Liberians, all Africans, and all members of the black race, as well as all citizens of the world. And the message that I am about to deliver is about Africa's oldest republic, Liberia. Liberia is considered the Lone Star of Africa because at the time when we self-declared ourselves independent, all the other areas on the continent of Africa were under colonial rule. And also what is important for all Liberians to understand, as well as all Africans and the peoples of the world, is that Liberia is the Israel of Africa. That the members of the various ethnic groups of Liberia are remnants of ancient African Jews that traveled from Eastern, Northern, Central Africa to what is known today as Liberia. This presentation that I'm about to deliver gives you a gist of our history. It summarizes our history in a very succinct way. But I want you to listen to the message and to also be hopeful that despite our differences, despite all of the problems that we have gone through as Liberians, let us all be hopeful that tomorrow we will be able to live together again as brothers and sisters to rebuild our country. The title of my presentation is Liberia Will Rise Again and Her Lone Star Will Shine Forever. In the beginning, when God created the universe, He created man in His own image, and He gave man the power to multiply. In so doing, came the peopling of the earth, the procreation of families and clans and nations were derived therefrom. Interestingly too, human life started from the continent of Africa. And out of the many peoples that evolved over time were God's chosen people among the black race, the Israelites of the black race, to whom He will give abundant freedom to rule themselves and never be colonized in millennia down the line. To such people, He would give abundant blessings and resources to be a shining light for the rest of their brothers and sisters to emulate. He would then lead them from East and Central Africa to west of Sub-Sahara Africa, and deliver unto their descendants, their sons, and daughters, the Canaan of the black race, the promised land called Liberia, land of the free, and its citizens will be called Liberians. And it so happened, as God decreed in millennia past, the ancestors of indigenous Liberians grouped linguistically as Kwas, Kran, Kru, Gbaba, Bassa, Dewian, Bi, Bele, Sapo, all descendants of ancient African civilizations of Axum, Nubia, and Egypt trekked from the east. They traveled from the east. From the river Nile Valley in Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt, and later joined their brethren, the Mendes. The Mende group include the Mende, Vai, Gola, Man, Dan, Pele, Kisi, Bandi, Mandingo, who hailed from the great kingdoms of Mali, Songhai, Ghana, and Benin, to journey westerly till they each reached their divine destinations and settled homes on the green coast now known as Liberia. And they lived side by side in peace and tranquility. True to his words, God did grant them the freedom of self-rule, each having dominion over their kingdoms and principalities. Though at times tongue and teeth fell apart, the indigenous remained intact, and together they resisted the raging daggers of colonialism. But subsequently, over the ages, then came that most dreadful moment in history, when some of our brethren were taken overseas in captivity for more than 5 centuries before again the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob would emancipate and repatriate them to the verdant shores of Cape Duco, of Beredru, Sancoin, Bezon, Drubo, and along the mountainous terrains of Gawula, Pokpa, Golakone, and Tewa, to resettle among their brothers and sisters and build a modern nation to be named and styled the Republic of Liberia. You know, I named some places here that you may not be familiar with because their names were changed later on when the settlers came to Liberia. Like for instance, Duko. Duko, I'm talking about Monrovia. Drubo. The Bassa would say Drubo. The Vai people would say Duko. Beredru, I'm talking about Happer. Sancoin, I'm talking about Sino. Bezon, I'm talking about Grand Bassa. And then, of course, when I talk about Gawula, Pokpa, Golakone, and Tewa, I'm talking about Cape Mount, the shores, the eastern shores of Liberia. So you can see that these places had these original indigenous names before they were renamed when the settlers came to Liberia. So it's important for us to know these names and know the people that come from those places. The national emblems they formed were unique in colors and rich in thought. Like for instance, you can see here the red, white, and blue of the Lone Star flag, and the blue side here representing Mother Africa, and the Lone Star representing the only independent African republic at that time, and the 11 stripes representing the 11 signatories to the Declaration of Independence, which was signed at the Old Providence Baptist Church on Broad Street. That's where the Declaration of Independence was signed by the 11 signatories to the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. And also at that time, when the Declaration of Independence was proclaimed, we had 3 counties at that time. We had Masurado County, Grand Bassa County, and Sano County. Those were the 3 counties at that time when we declared ourselves independent. It's important for you to know that as well. The national emblems they formed were unique in colors and rich in thought. The 11 stripes of the Lone Star flag, symbolizing the 11 signatories of the self-proclaimed Liberian Declaration of Independence, not from colonial rule, but to forbid encroachment of their territories by Western colonial vampires as God had deemed necessary. Thus, the red and white color symbolizing courage and moral excellence of our forebears, whilst the white star perched within the blue square represented the first independent Western-styled republic in Africa, Mother Africa. Further, though it has been argued in many quarters that the love of liberty did not bring all of us to these verdant shores, I beg to differ that it did in one way or the other. In that even our indigenous ancestors in olden times in the East had to flee the constant bombardments of unfriendly tribes and the scarcity of farmlands, and traveled westwardly in search of peace, freedom, and justice and self-rule, and plenty of farmlands, since they were mostly agrarian peoples. Now what I'm saying here, most of the time people say, oh, the love of liberty didn't bring us here because it met us here. Well, that same love of liberty was the same love that brought our ancestors from the East and brought them to what is now Liberia, even before some of our own brothers were taken from there and brought back to America, to the West, and then they went back again, because of the same freedom again, they went right back to show you that God had that spot. He had blessed Liberia to be the safe haven for the black race, to be the Israel of the black race. And you see people traveling, going back and forth. The same again after the war. Liberians have left, most Liberians have left Liberia again and travel overseas to come to America. So we're here in America again. And what I want you to understand when I talk about mental slavery, I want you to understand is that they create the wars, the Western governments and people create wars and things in Africa, destabilize our society, and then put us on ships and say they're giving up, they're doing resettlement, which is a new slavery. It's the same slave trade. They say they're resettling you, they send you to Australia, they send some to America, they send people to this and that to do who won't work. So these are things that we need to really understand as black people, as Liberians. We need to understand these things and be very, very careful how we take our arms against one another. That's very, very important. Hence, though from the start it seemed God's children would never merge or intermarry, yet through His grace we are all one melting pot. No Congos or American Liberians or country people, but Liberian citizens. Today, we are Liberian citizens. We're all mixed up. John Brown married to Kekula's sister. Kekula's sister married to Moses, James's auntie. Like that. That's how we're related. And though we have had our bitter experiences of the past, and even in the present, a family tree may bend, but it cannot break. The good and bad experiences we have had may be bitter and hard to forgive, but with the reinstatement of rule of law, when every man and woman can be held accountable for the consequences of his or her actions, and not cast blame on innocent people or dispense justice based on collective guilt, then it is very certain that Liberia will rise again and her lone star will shine forever. I want to repeat that statement so you can understand that it is wrong for you to cast blame on a whole ethnic group because Moses Paul did something to so and so person. Instead of holding Moses Paul responsible, you say Moses Paul the crew man, so all the crew people got to face the penalty of one man. That is unconstitutional. It is wrong. If Moses Paul does something, hold Moses Paul responsible for what he did and leave the other innocent people alone. If those who went to Liberia to go overthrow door had just gone to go for their door and left the windows and the kitchen and the whatever else and left it alone, our country would not have been destroyed today like this. So I repeat this so that you understand. The good and bad experiences we have had may be bitter and hard to forgive, but with the reinstatement of rule of law, when every man and woman can be held accountable for the consequences of his or her actions and not cast blame on innocent people or dispense justice based on collective guilt, then it is very certain that Liberia will rise again and her lone star will shine forever. And if we learn to make good use of our limited human, natural, and minimal resources for the common good of all, and not for a handful of selfish, greedy people, then Liberia will rise again and her lone star will shine forever. I was extremely amazed to find out that just a handful of people in the legislature make so much money that that whole money they could build schools, they could build universities, they could build hospitals, they could build roads, it could feed us. Just a handful of people making all that money and the rest of the people suffering and dying from diseases, curable diseases and all of that. Those things must stop. We need to stop those kinds of things. So in order for the lone star of Liberia to shine, we have to learn to make good use of our limited human, natural, and mineral resources for the common good of all and not for a handful of selfish, greedy people. Yes, Liberia will rise again and her lone star will shine forever if we elect competent and patriotic citizens to lead us and not vote into office incompetent people who do not know the difference between the letter A and bullfrog. Then Liberia will rise again and her lone star will shine forever. Election time is coming again. If you elect somebody who took the gun to kill your mom and your pa, definitely that's why we are in the situation we are in today, because the person that killed your mom and your pa is still there making decisions for you, making laws for you, executing the laws and interpreting the laws for you. And unfortunately, that does not work in other societies. That's why other societies advance. So it's very important that this election time that you will vote, with your conscience to elect the people that are competent, that have clean record, that will help us to rebuild the country. We are all willing to return home to build Liberia, to contribute our quota, as I have been doing for the past 43 years. I'm ready to come tomorrow. As soon as we're done with that election, I'm willing to work with anybody for us to rebuild Liberia. But these conditions must be met. They must be established and we must adhere to them. Yes, Liberia will rise again and her lone star will shine if we hold our public servants accountable for the consequences of their actions, and if we put square pegs in square holes and not appoint or elect incompetent people on tribal or family lines to do jobs they are not qualified to do. That's very important. Don't give me a job because I'm your countryman. Don't give me a job because I'm your cousin. Give me a job because I'm competent and I can deliver the good. That's what we should do, and it should be across the board. Then Liberia will shine forever. A word to the wise is quite sufficient. Therefore, I urge all of you in Liberia who are listening to this message today, I urge all of you to go and register to vote, and vote with your conscience. Please do not cast your ballots on tribal or family lines. Cast your ballot because the person you are voting for is sincere and has Liberia at heart, so that Liberia will rise again and her lone star will shine forever. I thank you very much.